Hello everyone, my name is Kritika Chettri and the topic I'm going to be covering today is called CV writing. So we will be doing three things in the course of this lecture. What is CV or resume? The second is what is the function of writing a CV or a resume for freshers like yourself? And the third part is what are the different styles in which you can write a CV? So I will be starting with the first topic. What do you mean by this word CV or a resume? So you'll often hear this term, people talking about building a CV, or when you go for any job interview, people might ask you, where is your CV? So what does this word CV mean? The full form of CV is curriculum vitae, and the other word for CV is resume. Now resume is a French word which means summary. Summary of what? It is a document that covers all your background details, your educational qualification, the kind of experiences that you've had, your interests and so on. So it's basically a document that tells the employer who you are, what you have done so far in life. Because when you go for any job interview, it's not possible that people will look at your testimonials or look at your degrees one by one. So this is like a simplified form to let them know that this is who you are, this is what you've done, this is your age, this is your interest, these are your qualifications. Okay, so to write a CV is important for many reasons, but the most important one is to get a job. So what should be the length of a CV? It can be of, often it is 1 or 2 pages. For freshers, you will not have that much of details. You don't have many things to add because you don't have that much of work experience. So you can stick to 1 or 2 pages. And what is the purpose of a CV? The purpose is to let the employer know who you are so that before you go for the interview, they already have a brief idea. Okay, so for the employer, the CV acts as a screening device. Okay, so screening device meaning they can select what are the type of candidates are suitable, they want to choose, they want to call for the interview, and who are the candidates to reject. Okay, so generally a CV is enclosed to the cover letter and it is written before the letter. Okay, so what is a cover letter? Cover letter is something that you write when you are applying for a job, so you cannot randomly send your CV out anywhere. Okay, so remember this, keep this in mind. Before you send a CV to any organization, you need to also attach a cover letter telling them who you are and why you are applying for the job. So, and the CV is prepared keeping the prospective employer's needs in mind. Now, so this is the purpose. Why should people write a CV? Why should freshers build or create a CV for themselves? Now, how to write a CV? So there is no fixed pattern. On the internet you will see many different formats and you might get confused, where to create a column, where to create a row and all of that. So do not be confused because roughly it can be divided into 2 styles. So this is just I've simplified it for you so that you remember what are the things to add, and the patterning and the formatting is something that can change over time. That is according to your desire. What is it, how is it that you want to format? But the content is very important. So I'm going to be talking about what should the content be like, what are the things you should add and delete. So there is a traditional style and there is a modern style. Now what is the traditional style? So the chronology of the traditional style is as follows. Number 1, you have your personal details. That means your name, your date of birth and so on. The second thing is your educational qualification. What have you studied so far? What are the degrees you have gathered? The third thing is your work experience. Okay, what kind of experiences you've gathered so far? What are the different positions you've served in? What are the internships that you've done so far? The fourth is interest of the candidate. Okay, what are the various interests apart from your academics and your job? What are the extracurriculars that you've done? The fifth thing is references. Now references, you cannot just include your uncle, your mama, whoever it is. It has to be people who know you in a professional or in an academic capacity, but people who are not related to you by any means. Okay, now for educational qualification and work experience, the important thing to remember is they should be in reverse chronological order. What does that mean? That means you start with the most recent degree or experience that you've had. Okay, so suppose MBA is the most recent or Masters is the most recent. So you begin with Master's degree, then the next degree that follows will be your BA, your high school and so on. So you do not begin with high school and then go on to Masters. Okay, so begin with the latest degree always. So this is the traditional, very simple approach towards creating a resume. So I will also be supplying an image of the traditional style for you. Now we come to the modern style. Now following things are important that are absolutely crucial when you are writing a resume in the modern latest style. Number one is your basic data. What is your basic data? Your name, your address, your telephone number, your mobile number and your email ID, because that is how correspondence will work these days. Okay, so mention your email ID. If you don't have it, create one. The next is career objective, okay, which you didn't have in the traditional style. Now you also need something called a career objective. What is a career objective? Career objective means your goals, your interests, your skills that qualify you to meet that objective. Okay, and the objective should be specific and suited to the position. That means that suppose you are applying for the job of a manager in a company. So it should tell the authorities or the ones who are hiring you what are the managerial skills you have gathered so far. Okay, so always keep the career, write the career objective keeping the targeted job in mind. Okay, so career objective is one thing that you need to add. Even if you are a fresher, this is something you need to include. And for that, you need to do some research on what is this job that you are applying for. Okay, have a look, what are the duties, what are the details and what you can hope to learn from this. So, depending on that, you will create your career objective. That is a list of your goals. Then you come to the education part. So, in the education, you include your qualification from high school onwards. So, that's very simple. And you can divide this into columns however you want to write. It should include your degrees earned. That is the first, you can say it's the first column is your degrees earned, then the percentage of marks you've gained, name of the institution and the year in which you have obtained the degree. So, 4 things very important. Now, naming your school or your college is not that important. Rather, what you have to mention is the board and the university. Okay, which board? Whether it is your Madhyamik board, whether it is ICSE, CBSE, which university. If you have studied in Siliguri College, that falls under NBU. So, you have to mention North Bengal University even in your BA. Okay, so the qualifications again, they are listed in reverse chronological order. That means starting with the most recent with the latest. Now we come to experience. Now experience includes work experience. Of course, now this is the part where freshers will lag behind because you might not have any experience to speak of, but you can also add things like part-time job, the internships that you've done, which is why it is important to do all these various unpaid internships also, so that you can have something to speak for yourself in the CV. Unpaid internships, paid internships and also voluntary work. A brief description of the job and the duties performed. So, don't just list the experience as it is, also mention in 1-2 lines what was required of you in that job, what are the things that you completed during that job. So, it should again be in reverse chronological order. Skills, then we come to skills. So, skills should also be very, it's things like computer skills, language skills, writing skills, not things like, oh, you know how to cook and bake or dance or whatever it is. So, very job specific. So, computer skills, the languages that you are proficient in spoken and written, your writing and editing skills that matter to the company. Okay. Now, next we come to the last part would be before your references, the personal details. In the traditional style, we began with the personal details, but now that comes in much later. Your father's name, date of birth, gender, nationality, hobbies, those kind of things. Whether you are a part of any association, clubs, committees. So, they should reveal what kind of a person you are, your personality, your attitude, whether you are someone who enjoys playing sports, you are an outgoing person. They should reveal something about who you are as a person. And lastly, we come to the references. They should be people who are not related to you, but people who've known you in an academic or a professional capacity. So mention the name of the person, the designation. Suppose it's your professor at college, so their name, assistant or associate professor, institution, NBU, contact details. Okay, because this is important, because sometimes the employer might want to do a background check on you. What kind of a student you are, how well you fared in the university. So for that, it is important to provide references of people who are not directly related to you. Now resumes are also divided into two. So we already did the traditional and the modern, but there are also two other divisions you can make. One is chronological and functional. Now chronological is for people who've just graduated from college and they don't have much work experience like yourself, and functional is for people who have a lot of work experience behind them and they want to either change their field, they want to move to a higher position, they want to change careers. Okay, so the only difference here is that in functional, your work experience takes center stage. So that is what is highlighted, and the education, the personal details, they have very minor importance in a functional resume. The thing that is major here is what are the various kinds of jobs that you've done over the years. So for a fresh graduate out of college, the important thing to remember if you're writing a CV is stick to the simple chronological style, because you don't have work experience to speak of. So I have provided an image of the chronological resume here. Starts with name, address, phone number, email ID, the objective. So here the objective is to deploy the talent in promotion of sales for company's benefit and achieve an executive position. So this person wants to achieve a higher position in this company. So education begins with the latest MBA, then moves on to BCom, senior secondary, matriculation. Then also you have additional qualifications. Those are things that are not really degrees, but things like diplomas. Okay, so diploma in marketing from IGNOU and so on. Now work experience, whatever internships you've done, give the date, give the address of the company, personal details, and then we end with extracurricular achievements, your interests, your strengths. What kind of a speaker of English or Hindi or Bengali are you, whether you are proficient in these languages, what kind of people skills you have. So in strengths you can mention things like good people skills, but do not try to stretch the truth. Okay, so put only things in the CV that you can substantiate, that means for which you have the testimonials ready. Okay, so suppose you've said you have scored this much, 97%, so it should show in your testimonials, because later people are bound to check. So do not put any false information or facts in your CV which you cannot support with documents. And lastly, we have the references. So it's pretty much the same pattern as your modern resume. So that's all regarding CV writing. If you have any questions, you can get back to me or you can post it in the comments.